Well, hey guys, welcome to Star Wars on High. Thank you for stopping by. We are back with another episode of the High Republic Show. Feel like it's been a while, but we are a little late. It dropped yesterday afternoon, and so we are getting together this morning. See, the sun is shining bright. We got coffee, and we're ready to react to this week's episode. Now, before we get into the video, just a reminder, there are sometimes spoilers here for the books. So if you're not caught up, you're worried about staying completely blind going into any of the novels or comics, just be warned. Haven't watched it yet, so I'm not sure if that'll be the case here, but that is always a risk. So excited to get into it. Jimmie, are you ready this morning to talk about some High Republic? You're caught up on the books, right? Enjoying them so far?
Oh, I'm caught up on all the books, on all the comics so far. Very, very much so enjoying it, and I'm very much looking forward to the High Republic show. It's been way too long since we had an episode. It's also been way too long since you and I both had the time to actually react to it together. So
Yes. Yeah, it's a great point. Apologies in advance. I'm stuffed up this morning. Allergies are kicking my butt, but it is fall. But we will power through for the good of the Republic. Got the video pulled up. I am going to give us a little countdown, and we're going to get started without further ado. And we're going to get rolling in 3, 2, 1. Let's get
Today
it.
on the High Republic show, I'm at home on maternity leave, but y'all know me. I never miss a show. Today, we're taking a look back at all the reveals from
Congratulations on the baby.
the round table,
Absolutely.
and what y'all really came here for, those sweet, sweet High Republic exclusives. No, just gotta finish this quick. Hey, roll the intro, Kyle. I'll be right back.
It's hard. It's hard out there.
Oh, hey, that's not there anymore.
Love the new covers. They look fantastic.
The artwork is my favorite part. That new art book that's coming out,
Oh, I
I
know.
want it so bad. Nice.
Good looking set.
Oh, it's
Well,
Kristen.
Christina seems like she has her hands full, and I owe her a favor anyway. Hello, friends. It's me, Kristen Baver, and while Christina, one of my favorite people, is helping the human beings she made, I'll be filling in since she did host an episode of This Week in Star Wars that you can watch here every Thursday afternoon for all of your breaking Star Wars
right.
news and informational needs. Anywho, I
Shameless
just got back
plug
from
is
New York
shameless.
Comic-Con with an oversized suitcase full of new High Republic reveals. At the High Republic panel, we learned the latest installment of the Edge of Balance manga, Precedent, is headed our way. Written by Daniel Jose Older.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Tomio
I missed that
Ogata.
one.
I did
The story will
too.
focus on the
Okay.
Wookiee Karkov during his early days as a Jedi Knight, and we'll learn how his past
That's
is
awesome.
connected to not only the Battle of Dalna, but also Marchion Ro, or Marchion Ro to some of you. Precedent drops in May of
Marchion.
2023. And coming in July of 2023 is a High Republic young adult anthology series, the first collection to feature all 9 High Republic authors in one place.
I
sharing
think I
short
knew
stories
about
that
this.
tie up loose ends
I think I
and
did,
give
but
hints of what's
Yeah.
to come in phase
It's a fun idea.
for fans of lightsabers, and let's be honest, who isn't? A brand new visual guide is coming in April called
Visual guide.
Star Wars: The High Republic Lightsaber Collection.
Blade
which
of
features
Bardata.
a comprehensive
Nice.
collection of saber hilts from the comics and novels. Feast your
I
eyes
love
on
it.
these pages.
Oh,
in
that's
Chronicles
awesome.
of the Jedi, a
Bill.
new illustrated in-universe guide that is simultaneously the
wow.
perfect refresher for fans
Cool.
coming into the mix.
Oh,
phase
That's
two,
really
and
cool.
a sweet reward for those of us
Oh, yeah.
who've been ride or die from day one. Also announced Yoda and the Younglings, a new picture
Cute.
book from the Souls. That's right, Charles Soule is making the.
Wow, there's a
High
whole
Republic
bunch I
family
missed.
affair
This
as
is
he
so
and his daughter
cool.
Rosemary team up to tell a
Also,
tale
yeah,
of
his
what it
saber
means
is
to be Jedi brave,
huge.
featuring Yoda and Buryaga. Making a note to send that to Christina and her new youngling next October. I got you. And it wouldn't be a Comic-Con without cover reveals, now would it? We got our first
Yes,
look
awesome.
at Cavan Scott's
This
Path
has got to
of
be the
Vengeance,
best
Tessa
cover
Gratton's
yet.
Quest for Planet X,
Possibly
Cindy
of all
Kang's
time.
Cataclysm, the cover of Dark Horse's Quest of the Jedi, a first look
Nice.
at the Twinkle Sisters, and variant covers for Marvel's The
Oh,
Blade number
these are
4
all
and
awesome.
the variant cover for Marvel's High Republic number 5. But you know what's more fun than hearing about New York Comic Con? Seeing it for yourself. I just got back to deliver to you,
I
High
imagine
Republic
so.
superfans, this fun-filled segment. Enjoy. We're here at
Oh,
New York
wow.
Comic Con for the epic launch of Star Wars: The High Republic Phase 2. We've got the authors here, they're signing their books, there's an amazing panel, and there's even a huge billboard in Times Square. Let's check it out.
We are here today to talk about the High Republic.
You don't mess around with the Force. And who messes around with the Force?
Me.
The Jedi.
Oh, listen.
Josh, how could
Ava
you?
Chris. This is so exciting. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you.
Excellent. How excited are you for Phase 2 of the High Republic?
I am extremely excited. I'm obsessed with the Jedi and everything.
I see that. I see that.
So I'm just like super excited to know just more of just everything.
Good robes. Look good. Look good.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like cosplay people are another breed.
I loved High Republic Phase 1, and Phase 2
Dr.
has
Afra,
been
nice.
so great so far, and this is sort of like a more intimate way into the story.
Oh, like the
I did not
holocron she has on her
expect
belt.
just how nice they would be, you know? They were just the nicest people in the world. The fact that they're here signing autographs for everybody is
Exactly.
just great. I loved it.
That's the beauty of the franchise.
That is the beauty
so
of it.
many rich characters. We could go back and forth in the universe. I love it.
Yeah.
As you all
Exactly.
know, the High Republic Phase 2 has launched this week. Officially, we are back.
The Twinkle Sisters do have names. It's Delphine and Camille. I'm
hilarious.
not sure they know which is which.
Dexter Jetster is back. Not
Yes,
just
sir.
as a cameo,
And Therm
but he is
Scissor
fully
Punch.
a part of the team in this wonderful series. Thank you.
We're here to launch Phase 2. How excited
Ah, the
are you
dynamic
to be here and for these books
duo.
to finally be out?
I'm excited to be here with him.
Yes!
Because, you know, we've worked together
He has
for
a.
couple of
He's got a figure in his hand.
lifetime.
It's been very exciting. Everyone has been so welcoming and let me have a really good time.
They
It's
really
really nice that people
kicked
are
ass with
really
that book,
embracing the books,
man.
but we get to see that.
How has your interaction today been on the panel with the fans, just in general?
The fans have been super encouraging, and it's
That's
just
us,
been
Jimmie. We're the
wonderful.
fans.
Star Wars
We are.
It's been a bit of a blur for me.
We are
You know,
single-handedly
I'm a huge Star Wars
holding down
fan.
the
It's
High
Oh,
Republic.
that's it. Yeah, it's all of us.
That's where I'm creating. It's just made it just incredible.
When you get nervous and buzzy, just think, what would Yaddle do?
If only I could do.
Me
what
too.
Yaddle does.
I loved you in San Diego!
Are you super jazzed for the High Republic
That
Phase
was
2?
amazing.
Super excited for Phase 2, especially since it's apparently going back in time to before Phase
See, this guy's
1.
wearing. This is what Jimmie wears around his house all the time. Robes. He just walks around in Jedi robes all the time.
But
Yeah,
I'm excited
I
for
do.
this age of exploration.
Go High Republic. I'm
That
so
helmet is
excited.
sick.
Light and life.
Yes, for Light and Life. For Light and Life.
And that guy busted out. He knew. He was. See.
Back home. And
Oh yeah, I saw this. This is like a custom figure, wasn't it?
And I heard her.
This is amazing.
Thank you all for reading and supporting these books. It really means the world to us. You know, everyone up here pours their hearts and souls.
That's a
into
cool
these
shirt.
titles.
It really
We're really,
is.
really proud of the work that they've done. You know, want you to know that whether it's the High Republic titles or any of
Some
our
great
other
covers
Star
there,
Wars
man.
titles
I love that we're watching
we're
this
doing
for the
this
High
for you
Republic, and we're
guys.
just like,
And
I
as
love
long
all
as you
these
keep
shirts.
Reading, we'll keep making them. So thank you for reading. Thank you for supporting the.
People
the
know
books,
I love the
thank you for
merch, man.
Supporting these authors. May the force be with you.
It's fun. That would have been fun to
I
go
look how
to.
big the team has gotten. That's just so cool.
You want to be the host
back
now?
and
You
forth.
can be the
Yes.
host now.
Ladies and
It's
gentlemen,
the
thank you for coming
boy.
to the High Republic show. Sorry, Christina. Sorry, Kristen. It's now me.
I can see that. 100% I can see that.
It's
Hello
so
and welcome
smooth
to the
with it.
first official Star Wars: The High Republic show roundtable in person.
Oh, cool.
Today we are joined by
Ooh.
Rob Simpson, senior editor in publishing.
Hi.
We've got Kelsey Sharp, junior
Kelsey.
creative executive. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Kelsey. And we've got Phil Showstack,
Phil.
creative art manager.
Hey,
Thank you all for being here.
thanks for having us. Great being here around the round
Look at our table.
Literal round
The literal round
I
table.
like the
the
starlight
knights of
looking good in
round
the
table.
background.
But we're here today to talk
Always,
about the
always.
beginning of Phase 2 of Star Wars:
I like
The High
the
Republic.
Yoda
I'm so
figure there.
excited. I can't believe we're here at this moment already. So let's dive into it. What is new about Wave 1 of Phase 2 of The High Republic?
In the grand Star Wars tradition, we started with the middle of the story, and now we're going back to what came before.
Uh-huh.
It's very Star Wars.
See,
exactly.
we knew it.
Exactly. But just like the prequels, I think if you read Phase
A
1,
pre-prequel.
you're going to find a lot of cool connections and plot threads that tie into it, but also it's a great jumping on point because
Yeah.
with Phase 2, we're going back 150
Out of the
years.
Shadows, that was a good book.
Brand new characters, a lot of new locations, but some locations that we know, both from Phase 1 as well as from the saga, like Jeddah, which I'm sure Rob can talk about more later. Phase 2 is really exciting because all of the High Republic is the height of the Jedi, right? It's a Jedi being the heroes we know them to be, saving people, going on missions. But in Phase 2, it's really all about sort of expansion, communication, connection, because
Which is cool.
hyperspace travel exists, of course, but it's not as reliable. I mean, even in the time of Solo, we know with the Kessel Run, like charting a path through hyperspace can sometimes be extremely perilous. And at this
Make
point in
Solo
time,
2, baby.
there are fewer hyperspace lanes
But it is
to
interesting because,
rely
like,
on. So
how do
what we
people
see
not
are both
understand, like,
independent
yeah, hyperspace has always been
prospectors,
around.
both working
It's
on
just
their
not
own,
as
well
reliable
as
at this
these sort
time.
of family conglomerates, names like Graf and Santeca that you might know. They're out there, sort of finally charting safe routes from the core out to the outer rim, even out to parts of the mid rim. And what that means is that for the first time, these sort
That's so
of
cool.
far-flung peoples and planets are now really in close connection with the core, or they're making these connections that they
Which is a
couldn't
cool
make
idea. This
before,
whole
and
concept
the
is cool.
Jedi and the Republic are sort of the tip of the spear.
How much
for
do you think
that,
it would
because we have
cost us
these
to hire
pathfinding
them to
teams
make
who are going out,
an intro
where
for
Republic
us
and Jedi are
in that
working
same art
together, working
style?
with these new
I love
droids,
it.
the EX
It'd be so
communication
cool, though.
droids, and what they do is sort of travel out to these far-flung locations and then shoot a droid essentially back in the direction of the core so that they can actually send messages to each other, because there aren't reliable communications networks at this point.
When you describe that, I just hear that like R2 screaming sound. Like that's just what I assume is happening,
Yes.
but in space where they can't hear the droid scream.
Yeah, that was actually when that sound was first recorded, and they realized like, oh, this will be useful. Let's put that in Astromech.
Yes, I love it. So with Wave 1, we've already had Path of Deceit come out, Quest for the Hidden City, and also just recently, very, very recently, Marvel's Star Wars The High Republic.
great cover.
Issue number 1, the relaunch. Let's talk a little bit about some of these story points. What can we expect when we're diving into Path of Deceit? What can we expect when we're diving into the High Republic?
Well, the fun thing about the first issue of, as Kelsey was saying, the first issue of the new run of the High Republic is we're meeting everybody for the first time.
That cover.
It's a new beginning. It's a great jumping on point, but it's also getting to see the Jedi in a different atmosphere than they've been before. You've seen space travel, of course, in Star Wars for
Like
a
that
very long
shot a
time,
lot.
But with these Pathfinder teams and with these far outposts that they're going to, the Jedi are really in a position of discovering new planets
another
and new
great shot.
civilizations
So good.
for the first time themselves. And in our lead Jedi for this story, Vildar Mac, he's going to a
Another
place
good
where
shot.
the Jedi have been before, but
They
he
just-
hasn't
they-
been
they
there
don't
himself
miss.
before. So he's walking into this atmosphere of Jeddah.
Looks like Carl
Descendant
Urban
of
there.
Rogue One for the first time. He's meeting all these different cultures for the first
The
time. and
boys
he's
meet
meeting
Star
a lot
Wars.
of people who have different points of view about the Force than he's grown up with. And though he's a Jedi Knight, he's not the expert on everything to do with the Force that he thinks he is once he starts meeting these people. So that's a lot of fun to play with.
No, that's been something really interesting in this first wave of books and comics, that you feel like the Jedi know so much about the Force and are so steeped in it, and then you learn through these books and comics that they're not the only perspective. They don't have the only point of view, as it turns out,
Impossible.
in the galaxy. And there's a lot of
Blasphemy.
different views on the Force.
It's only
and
the
how to wield
Force.
it, or
Oh,
if
that's
you
awesome.
even should wield it, and a lot
Ah,
of
the
really
wheels.
interesting questions that I had never thought to ask before.
And
really
even between
fantastic.
two Jedi, watching his relationship grow with Maddie, the new Jedi that he encounters, the relationship
her design a
between
lot, too.
Maddie and
For sure.
Vildar is distinctly different from the relationship we saw.
She's
between
really
Kiev
fun in the
and
comic.
Skier, where you really
We
had
stay
a
on Twi'lek.
Jedi starting out on her journey in Kiev with Maddie. Maddie's been a Jedi for a while. She has a different master. Vildar's not there to be her master, though they do work closely together. And just that Maddie
Right, that's
knows
an awesome
more
cover,
about how
man.
life runs
Right.
on Jeddah than Vildar does is so much fun, because here comes this, storied older Jedi who of course knows everything, and he's immediately taken down 10 pegs because he clearly doesn't know everything of what's going on this planet. So that's just a fun relationship to watch.
Is she wearing like a Halloween themed Lucasfilm
Yes,
shirt
I
with the
also
orange and black?
I was
Deeply
wondering
related
about that. I was
to
looking at
Stalker,
hers
so
and
she's
Kristen's.
just
I was like, I
constantly
wanna wear this
yammering
shirt.
on to poor Vildar, who just got off the equivalent of like a red eye to get to Jeddah, and he's so exhausted. He's got like space jet lag. It's wonderful to see those kind of two
Yeah.
energies and how different it is from Kiev and Skier.
As a young woman, what's really interesting to see about both Kiev and Maddie, or I guess I should say sort of a young woman, the contrast between Kiev and Maddie is that, Kiev starts off very competent, a very skilled Padawan, but totally insecure. Everybody can sort of see that she's ready to take this step, except for her. And Maddie is almost the opposite. Like Rob was saying, Maddie is sort of the local expert on Jeddah. She knows the different factions. She knows how to get where she's going, and she has a voice that she's not afraid to use. But it almost
Ooh, that looks
feels like
dope.
Vildar
That's a
and
cool
some
panel.
other Jedi almost want to
Yeah, that's
hold
another
her
variant
back.
cover, I
and
believe.
So seeing her butt up against them occasionally and say like, hey, I didn't need you to step in for me there. I actually had that under control. I found really refreshing and
Yeah,
cool.
it's really nice to see that kind of, immediacy of learning on Vildar's part, and where he knows that he could very easily overstep his bounds and overstep his realm of knowledge about things, and he's willing to step back and be like, okay, I'll offer if asked, but if not, I'll kind of step back and listen to what's going on from Maddie and from other wielders of the Force as he starts to meet the members of the Convocation. And it's a totally different perspective on how do you balance power and balance authority when everyone is, it's like when you leave high school and go to college and, you were everybody was the smartest person in their high school and then they suddenly go to a new place. Everybody in the convocation is an expert on the Force from a different point of view.
Can we talk a little bit more about the convocation of the Force, how it links up to the Guardians of the Wills, also on Jedha, and the Jedi Order, and maybe even the Path of the Open Hand, because I think all of those things kind of work in concert in Phase 2.
Well, working in concert is an interesting way to look at it because really those other groups that you named all come together through the convocation. The convocation is a place where everyone needs to come in on equal footing. Where the Guardians of the Wills have a very specific
in
vision
on what he's
of
talking
their
about right
relationship
now.
to the Force and their relationship to history as it's
Yeah, I
played
love
out
this
over
concept.
centuries.
Obviously, I'm not caught up,
Convocation's
but I
sort of
love
there to help them
the
understand
ideas they're
that there are
talking
other
about here.
people other
Oh, yeah.
civilizations who have come to that feeling about the Force in a different way.
Yeah, I think the convocation is probably my favorite part of Phase 2 so far because I think, the Jedi are wonderful and they capture our imaginations and who hasn't swung around a lightsaber as a kid, but I think as you start
Or
to
as an
get
adult.
older, you start to think about, well,
Heyo.
what if you have the Force, but you weren't found by the Jedi or you weren't raised in a temple? And I think this is kind of a first peek into the fact that, yeah, there are other factions in the galaxy. There are other, cults of mystery. There are other ways of understanding the Force and using or not using the Force. One really
Which I
interesting
think
group that
adds
we'll
for
meet,
great
Tessa Gratton and
storytelling.
Justine Ireland's Path of Deceit is the Path of the Open Hand. They're interesting because they are actually a group of non-Force users, specifically by design. So they're a pilgrim group. They're based in a commune on the planet Dalna, which readers may know from Phase 1, but this is previous in Dalna's past. It's a very quiet pastoral planet with a small settlement, and the Path basically preaches the idea that the Force has to be free, that the Force exists, they believe in it, they believe in the fate of the Force and the power of the Force, but they think that to control it or to direct it is almost like putting up artificial dams in a river when the river wants to flow freely. We'll meet many
like it.
characters associated with the Path, from their leader,
And
the
it's
mother,
very
and her
frustrating
sort of
when you read
right-hand
about
man,
it.
the Herald, but also
I love their color scheme too. Love the blue and
Marta
white
is a
robes.
very sweet,
Looking
very
awesome.
Oh, right.
passionate young woman who really believes in what the Path of the Open Hand preaches. And so when she meets a Jedi Padawan, Kevmo Zing, it's sort of the first time that either of them have had their worldviews challenged, right? Because Kevmo was raised by the Jedi. Kevmo is such a bright, happy, loving boy who just wants to be everybody's best friend. And I think he's really our perfect intro to the Path of the Open Hand, because if you watch Star Wars, if you read Star Wars, you want to identify with the Jedi, right? You want to be like, but these are
No,
these are
the
our
Sith,
heroes.
please.
Of course they're right.
Whoa,
And
now,
so I think your first
hey,
instinct would be to
hey.
say, no, the Path of the Open Hand is wrong. But having Kevmo as your perspective character who's so open-hearted, so open-minded, he really wants to understand where Marta is coming from. And so that certainly helped me when I was reading the book.
Marta,
because
don't fall for
following along
Kevmo.
with
He's a liar.
Kevmo
Wants to
and
control the
Marta,
Force.
They really both challenge each other, and they both make great points. Right?
So if it was
Marta has always
Anakin,
been
he would
taught
have just
that
been like,
if
"You're
the
wrong."
Force is manipulated in one place, then that causes a disruption somewhere else. So that an act that a Jedi performs that they might construe as heroic, well, the Force has to balance itself somehow. And I think when Kevmo encounters that idea, he wants to sort of reject it, but the more he thinks about it, the more he wonders if maybe there's some truth in what the Path of the Open Hand sort of preaches, and maybe there is a middle way between what the Path does and what the Jedi do.
The Sith.
No, and you make
It's
some
like,
good
what?
points
It's like-
that I love. But I think it's also just a mirror to healthy debate and how that you can have healthy debate. You can have opposing viewpoints, and it doesn't have to always end up in a Jedi versus Sith type war.
No,
That's right.
It's
You know,
either
you can have
it's either
conversations, and
just
there's just different ways
Jedi
of
or you're
looking at
wrong.
things.
Or unhealthy debate, as we see in the comments.
Come
Kind of
Thursday
in the
nights to our
comments,
live stream
yeah,
if you want to listen to healthy debate.
Kind of nasty sometimes between these different groups.
Yeah, the first issue, has some really beautiful art by Ariana Andito and Andrea Braccardo, who really bring Jedha to life. I mean, we've seen Jedha, in Rogue One, but there's this great moment at the
Big Jedha
beginning
fan.
of the first issue where Vildar's coming in and he's flying over Jedha and he's seeing it from the sky, from above. And, we get to see the full sweep of the city, and just seeing the design from the film brought to life in this comic again was just so much fun. And then walking out onto the street almost immediately into a knockdown drag out argument between groups with differing points of view. Second they see a Jedi, they have apparently very strong opinions about
I gotta tell you,
Jedi.
man, I've started
Who's
this
in the middle
on
of that
Monday,
fight? Vildar.
and I'm very excited based on what they're talking about.
Jedha's the perfect place for that
Oh,
because
yeah?
like Rogue One really teased out the idea that there's different groups on this place, and now we're returning to that place and kind of filling in that history
You
a bit
gotta
more.
get caught up,
getting
man.
to know these different groups. And
It was a lot of fun working with you on that because, being able to supply the Marvel artists with the design work that was done for Rogue One that you were able to
Yeah.
unearth that people hadn't seen before.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's a lot of things, deep background
Oh,
characters
that's
that we
awesome.
have, like great
Right.
cinematography to send to the artists.
And city
Make it cool.
designs, seeing the buildings, seeing the streets,
Love it.
really made it feel like a three-dimensional real world.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Yeah, that you only really catch a glimpse of in the film. We're really able to kind of plus out with these comics.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is a great segue because I want to talk more about the design from a pure design perspective. How do you take what we know of the High Republic from Phase 1 and now devolve it a little bit further for Phase 2?
I think it's the same challenge that Doug Chiang had to meet with the prequel films. How do you take that step back? I mean, in that case, it was only like 20 years from what we know. And
Very true.
In the
but
case of Phase
Doug
1, it was how
just
many
knew,
years
he just
from
knows
episode
everything.
1?
Yeah.
200 years, and now it's another 150 years. So it's much larger spans of time.
It's true. 200 years.
Yeah,
is
what we're
a
doing,
long time.
as we discussed with Phase 1, is diving into a lot of unused concept art, especially in the world of vehicles. And then with characters, it's a definite
that's
de-evolution of a lot of those costumes that we're very familiar with from Phase 1, something a little more subdued, darker tones, not quite so much of that kind of gold filigree and piping, less fancy and more practical, more rugged.
Makes
and
sense.
something
You're
that'll
exploring.
really
That's
kind
one of the
blend
things
in
that I
these
do
books,
like
think,
about that because
more.
you get to see
and I think
different
that
designs
extends to
that
the
they would
ships
wear.
as well.
You know?
They seem very rugged, utilitarian, a little more of that hunk of junk feel of cobbled togetherness than we saw, with the High Republic Phase 1, but also for sure from what we saw in the prequels where Naboo doesn't cobble together anything, it seems. And here we are with Jedi on these pilgrimages, it seems like. They're exploring the galaxy. So how do you bake in utilitarianism into a ship design?
Well,
duct tape.
What we did, we kind of cheated a little bit
True.
because we just went into our archive, dug into that, and found 50 contenders, and then from those found the comms and Pathfinder ships, which were designs from episodes 7 and 8, actually, resistance transports. And those resistance vehicles, very much like the rebellion vehicles, could be decades or even centuries old, so it works perfectly. And they're very, you look at them and you know, okay, this is like a utility vehicle. This is not something that's like handcrafted, artisan, beautiful thing like the Vector or like the Naboo ships that you mentioned. This is something
nothing
that
in the
its
High Republic is
function
luxury.
reads really clearly to the viewer. Yeah.
Well, and it needs to because those are the ships that these, pathfinders are taking out into the galaxy, sort of taking multiple leaps of faith and saying, okay, well, this chart that this path that I'm charting seems clear. I hope that it is. And so I have to imagine that those ships go take a beating in hyperspace. A lot of rough entries and exits from those lanes.
Just much more about functionality than something fancy or that's going to impress anyone. It's
I was going to say, when we're working with the folks at Marvel and the other writers and artists who are working on this, when writers like Cavan or Charles Soule come to us and ask, what kind of ship could transport, 300 people and livestock and, weapons, machinery to build a settlement on another planet. It's good to be able to have those conversations with you and be like, okay, this ship is perfectly designed for that kind of a
Love
thing.
getting
and
some
if it doesn't
insight
exist,
on the design
to work
process.
together to build what that
Say,
kind of ship
like,
looks
knowing that you can just,
Yeah, and we're
recycle
also
ships
getting to see,
doesn't seem
or at least
lazy.
read
It seems
about
real.
Gaze Electric.
Like
as it's
that's
being
exactly
built,
how this
which
works. I mean,
was
there's
a
still people
fantastic
today trying to
surprise. I
sell
was
that
alone in my
'94
apartment reading
Toyota for
this
$7
and
grand.
screaming at the book because I didn't expect that. But I want to talk more about the Path of the Open Hand as well, because this is a really interesting design. I don't know that we've seen a Force cult before. I don't know.
Definitely factions like we saw in Rogue One, but not necessarily a cult.
I like to think of it as being more commune than like Netflix true crime.
Sorry.
Sure, sure.
I'm sure they would.
They would not probably agree to that. Exactly. But the Path of the Open Hand is a really interesting group to me. We got our first hint at some of the art a couple months back. We saw Marta Rowe for the first time. Gorgeous design. How do you take what we know of this species with Marchion Rowe, or Marchion, change that up for Marta Rowe, who is quite different from the other Rowe that we know?
In
she's
Eye of the
not
Storm, we got to see a
insane.
little
Well,
bit of
I stay on
Rose's
both rows. Let's go.
and his society, but it was the society on the
Say
decline.
Evereni is just
and getting
creepy.
to see Marta and see some aspects of the path and how they connect to Marchion species is going to open people's eyes a lot, I think, to how intricate the thought process went into building that group and what their connection to the
Cool.
Force is and what their connection
That's exciting to hear.
governing the universe. I mean,
It is a very
the
much
Jedi
night and
operate
day
very much as a
difference.
democracy, and the Sith, maybe as more of an autocracy.
Autocracy, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, yeah.
But
That's right. How it should be.
the people who follow the
Sith
path
power.
follow it out of devotion, out of this strong belief in what Marta represents. So I think just seeing that level of connection is different than what we've done before.
It strikes me as almost if you allow the Jedi to have attachments to each other, what does that look like? With that added layer
Looks like the
of
Sith,
we
maybe.
use the Force, we give to the Force. Just a really interesting group. We also saw
This
the
bit,
mother
I
on
swear.
the cover.
Ask
Half
Anakin about it. No.
She did not look at all what I was expecting somehow. And yet when you read the description of just how the air in the room changes when she walks in and everyone just suddenly wants to do her bidding. I see it. I see it in that design.
The mother's a really compelling and charismatic figure. She's not the founder of the Path of the Open Hand, but she is their current leader. And what she's done for them is she sort of envisions a place for them beyond Delna. She's going to take the Path of the Open Hand out to the stars. And the way that she's doing that is by constructing this ship known as the Gaze Electric. And that's going to be how the Path enters the galaxy and spreads their message. It's how we connect to the convocation, which we'll see on Jeddah, because Marta Rowe is told by Kev Mozink that there's this group of Force users, Force worshippers, who are going to be meeting on Jeddah regularly to talk through all matters of the Force and see where their philosophies meet. And that really energizes Marta as a young follower of the Path and of the Mother, because she feels like that aligns so perfectly with the Mother's vision of spreading their message to the galaxy. The Jedi are such a dominant voice from Marta's perspective that she really wants to be there on Jeddah to see it happen and to be a voice for the Path of the Open Hand and to take this word that the Mother has passed on and kind of proselytize it out to the entire galaxy.
But this is just the beginning.
Which is just
of Wave
delusional.
1 of Phase 2. We've barely
No one should
scratched
follow
surface.
the path.
There's still so much more to come. What else do we have coming that you're excited about?
All right, here we go.
I'll throw out a very probably too early pitch for George Mann's audio original with Del Rey, Battle for Jeddah.
Very excited about
One of
that.
the things that's been so great about the High Republic is that it's really delivering exciting stories in every format that we publish, and those audio originals have been a real highlight for me.
Audio,
I'm really looking forward
the
to some
audio
of
dramas are
comics that coming.
insane.
We've already announced we're going to be doing more High Republic adventure stories, but the fun part of that is that Daniel Jose Older is really giving us a look into the underworld and sort of piracy on the high seas kind of feel.
Dark Horse Comics,
what's
baby.
going
Yeah,
on
it's
out
cool. I'm
there.
excited about
As
that.
this phase looks to explore founding new frontiers and exploring new planets, that comes with it, people looking to make a fast buck, people looking to, cut corners, and seeing those kinds of characters,
The scoundrels we love.
the scoundrels that we love. And then over on the Marvel side, I mentioned Charles. He's going to be doing a miniseries called The Blade. So we're going to get to learn more about Porter now 150 years earlier in his life. And it's just got some incredible, beautiful artwork by Marco Castillo that I can't wait for people to start seeing. So those two really have me energized.
I love that connection point too, though. Obviously, Phase 2 is the prequel to Phase 1, but there are a few characters who are still alive, still kicking around, and we get to see them a little bit younger.
And from the novels, to the comics, to everything.
Looking like a Dooku.
We get to see all of the
He is
luminous
very
authors,
much
working
a
together
nobleman.
again and new authors brought in to be working with them. Just watching that family of writers grow, that family of creators grow, and new artists, it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I can't wait to read Convergence. Very excited.
Yeah, having Zoraida Cordova writing a full adult Del Rey novel for us in the High Republic, I think that was on all of our wish lists.
Look,
So
Zoraida's
it was a
writing
great
style is
All right.
unmatched.
So much to look forward
so
to. So much to look
we
forward to.
got a
So
treat
excited
having her
for
write these
Phase 2 of
books.
the High Republic. What are you personally most excited for?
It's a big part of what we do generally is we know the secrets and just waiting to hear the reactions.
See people's reaction.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Specifically,
Kelsey, what
Star
about
Wars
you?
on High.
Well,
Josh.
what I love about Star Wars
Hey,
is
let's go.
the romance and the politics. I feel like Path of Deceit covers me on romance, and Convergence is where all the politics happen, because we're going to see Iran
Yeah,
and
those first 4
Corona. Of course,
chapters
we know
that were
this
put
is
out.
kind
It's
of a
it's
war
pretty
at this
political,
point, so
but
that book is
it's
literally putting the wars
necessary.
in Star
So
Wars.
All right.
as
I
is
think
everything
that's
in Star
everything.
Wars.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to have you all at the round table.
That was a great round.
That was fun. It was cool insight. Yeah.
You know, it's been a while since Christina's asked some of Lucasfilm's finest, your most pressing High Republic questions, and because I'm hosting and have unlimited power, I use my own show.
Well, you called the Sith thing.
Every Thursday afternoon. to
Only one
solicit
way,
your
Jimmie.
Questions. And now it's time for me to get some answers. So come with me back to New York Comic Con to answer your queries.
Did you answer my question?
Are you
That'd
ready
be
to
cool.
answer the social questions?
Absolutely, let's go.
Dark Sapiens asks,
Will
That's not
Phase
me.
2 also be focused on a few singular events, or will each novel cover a longer period of time?
Phase 2 actually covers a shorter period of time. What we've done with this phase is we've tried to make it a little more contained. So if you're
Okay.
only reading one format, the middle grade or the YA, etc., you get a complete story.
Oh,
There's
okay.
still that
That's nice.
interconnectivity, and there's still those key linchpin moments, such as the Battle of Jeddah and the Battle of Dalma.
Are you ready for another one?
I'm ready for more questions.
This one comes from Drea Targaryen.
Oh.
Are we going to get more animations?
Yes.
This one comes from Kristen Baver.
Okay.
When are we going to get more animations?
Right now.
Ooh, all right.
On the down. What we got?
150 years before the Great Disaster, the High Republic embodied the ideals
Nice.
of exploration, technology, and peace. Living humbly on a commune on the planet Dalna is the path of the open hand. At the center of this devout group is the Mother, their leader. She is lovingly surrounded by the path's followers, the elders, the children, and the littles, and aided by
The
her
littles.
The path believes the use
The Herald
and
freaks me
manipulation
out.
of the Force is dangerous. Doing so could have catastrophic results on the galaxy, and the Jedi, with their innate abilities, are a threat to the natural order of things.
That's right. Kill them
With
all.
their values disregarded, the path seeks
Hey,
a
yo.
way to uphold their tenets. But they may have gone too far.
Ooh.
Trouble awaits in the High Republic.
God, these animations are so good.
They're fun. Oh.
All right,
Oh.
I hope you're sitting down because I have a whole
I
boatload
am.
of reveals. We all know and love Yoda and Grogu, but you know who's too often absent from those adoring conversations?
Yaddle?
Well,
Let's
that
go.
changes today because we have your first look at Yaddle in the High Republic, who just so happens to play
Let's
a very
go.
important role during the end of Phase
That's
2.
hilarious.
Next up, we have a look at Sky Graf, part of the Graf prospecting clan. 15-year-old Sky is
Nice.
a talented tech genius and pilot determined to be the first to the mysterious planet X. And if I can editorialize for a bit, that gray streak in the hair is working for you, Sky. It's working. Also, we've got your first look at concept art for Barash, a Jedi honor-bound to fight alongside the Blade of Bardata himself,
dope.
Quarter Angle. Dressed in all white,
Apparently
Barash
this is
shares
supposed
a
to be,
bond with Porter, whom she's known since childhood, and together they use their special abilities.
Like the all white,
to
all
protect
black
settlers
kind of combo
across the
there?
different frontiers
They're
of the
supposed to be
galaxy.
siblings,
Like
is what I was
Kristen,
told. I don't know.
Christina
I don't
using
know
our
if that's true or
special
not.
abilities to deliver the Star Wars intel. Case weird. If you thought we were done there, you're not even close.
We've got covers for Marvel's The High Republic
Oh, that's
number
awesome.
5 by Yannick Paquette.
Number
And
5?
the variant for the
Wow,
Blade number
we're
3
That's awesome.
by Lanil Francis Yu.
Big fan.
But Kristen, you say, I want to know what's inside one of those Phase 2 High Republic books. Can't say no to you.
We also have a look at Sav Malagan, as well as their appearance inside Dark Horse's Star Wars The High Republic Adventures number 1.
And finally, a look inside a book near and dear to my heart, The Art of Star Wars The High Republic, which features the behind-the-scenes story of the
Yay.
making of Phase 1, full-color artwork, and never-before-seen designs. And it was written by me, Kristen Baver. But best of all, it's available
Yeah,
at
it
all
was.
major
November 8th.
booksellers on November
Wow, it's
8th.
close.
As always, for more on these reveals, check out starwars.com/The High Republic. Well, that wraps up another fun-filled episode
All
of the High
right.
Republic Show. We'll be
Wrap
back
it
in
up.
December
I'll
with
hit pause here. Thanks so much to our guest host for being here to wrap us up.
Kristen Baver is amazing.
That's right. Taking us back here to the big screen, I'll just maybe give a couple closing thoughts. Not a lot of new information outside of some confirmations from Comic-Con, which I didn't follow closely, so that was fun for me. And I really liked hearing about the design process. A lot of the things they were talking about related to different factions who worship the Force and all the way ideologies could develop around that, I think is so good. It is something we don't see a lot of in the main Skywalker saga for obvious reasons, right? There's a smaller focus on Force users and more limited, but you take it back hundreds of years where this was more, the galaxy was more spread out, more isolated. Obviously, these ideologies would kind of develop based on their experience. And so really like what they're going for. Jimmie has read Path of Deceit and the first comic. I will kick it off this week, and I'm excited to dive back into the High Republic. Jimmie, any closing thoughts from you before we wrap up this morning?
This was honestly, I love it when the High Republic show is longer than like 15 minutes. So having a 30-minute episode was great because there's a lot of information that I missed, and I'm glad I got to get caught up on that. And again, like I had mentioned on stream last week, this is just a much more condensed version of how I was trying to explain Phase 2
Yeah, it's
without
true.
spoilers. It was much more detailed. Obviously, they're professional. I'm not. But it's just so cool to see it. You can tell it feels completely different from Phase 1.
Yeah.
It feels like a very fresh story, even with characters that we're still going to be familiar with. So,
Well,
um,
I love hearing insight into the design process, man. You know, I know you and I
oh
eat that
yeah,
stuff up. It's cool. It's like it's fun how creative teams can kind of come up with their own, visions of what parts of the galaxy look like. It's fun.
no, absolutely, and I really think they struck gold with the High Republic. And if anything, I'm the one thing that really caught my attention is like they're talking about how communication is limited and hyperspace travel is limited. That's going to make storytelling very interesting when they eventually, because we know it's going to happen, eventually decide to go back to the old Republic. I want to see how they're going to deal with that.
Yep.
Then that's going to be really cool.
It
I
will be.
think.
Absolutely. And thanks everyone for tuning in. I just want to call out, first of all, if you made it this far in the video, I am very surprised. The keyword for a heart from Jimmie. Jimmie will heart your comment if you leave the word Jimmie King underneath, because Jimmie is
Heyo.
king. And I do
Make
want to
sure
call
you
out.
spell my name right.
That's right. Want to call out, that's an IE, Jimmie. And we have Tales of the Jedi coming out later this month. Jimmie and I are going to do reactions to every episode. Also, Andor continues to release. So stay tuned. A lot of fun Star Wars to wrap up the year, as well as, of course, High Republic books and comics. So we're looking forward to it. We appreciate all your support. It's been a really awesome year for Star Wars, and it continues to be so. So stick around. We'll see y'all again very soon.